Kaiser Permanente has been a sponsor for ICIC's Inner City Capital Connections program since 2016, starting here in Los Angeles. Since then, we've supported over 45 cohorts across the county with over 2,600 businesses receiving access to executive education, coaching, and access to capital. These companies have gone to create 3,200 jobs and over $155 million in capital, and experienced an average growth rate of 132% in average annual revenue. What this means to us in the communities that we serve is economic vitality, which we know is fundamental to community health. When local businesses, workers, and their families prosper, they are better positioned to take care of their health. They can afford adequate housing, nutritious food, and have access to health care. Our journey with ICIC has not only been about economic growth, but also fostering innovation and social impact. With that in mind, it's my pleasure to introduce this morning's Fireside Chat, Innovating for Social Good. This Fireside Chat brings together leaders who are dedicated to investing in their communities, using innovative solutions to create positive social impact and drive meaningful change. I now turn it over to Jodie Lesh, Managing Director, U.S. Life Sciences and Healthcare for Deloitte Consulting, to introduce the panelists and lead the discussion. Jodie?
Well, it's wonderful to be here. I blush with Steve's introduction always, but it's such an honor. Every time I come into a room with ICIC, I just feel this wave of just pure joy, and I'm just so happy to be with our panel here today. The work that ICIC is doing to support our communities, to support small businesses and drive economic growth in our communities is so near and dear to me. And many people in this room who I know that I've loved to tell stories, and I'm not going to tell a story here, but the one thing I will say is that the mission of an organization really only moves you when it's personal. And for me, this work is very personal, very, very personal. And when I had the opportunity for 20 years to work at Kaiser Permanente, I was blessed with an organization that was mission-driven. Jamila, Steve talked about Bernard Tyson, who was really an incredible mentor to me, was one of the most mission-driven people I've met, really changed my career. And that mission of Kaiser Permanente allowed partnerships such as the one Kaiser Permanente has with ICIC to blossom and really grow into an extraordinary partnership. And as Steve said, I recently came back on what they call a boomerang to Deloitte Consulting, what I would also consider a mission-driven organization. And I'm excited to say that we're just in the early stages of a discussion around a partnership to support ICIC here at Deloitte. And that just means the world to me, and I'm excited to see where that goes, and so we can support and help this amazing organization grow and help small businesses grow and help our communities, and particularly some conversations around helping our communities in Los Angeles recover from the wildfires, which again is deeply personal to me, as many members of my family lost their homes in that fire. And I hope that we can use the power and the passion, the capacity of ICIC and all the small businesses that ICIC supports to help in that amazing rebuilding effort. So I'm excited to see where that partnership goes. So I'm excited today to be joined by an extraordinary panel, some who I know, some who I've recently gotten to know, so I feel very blessed by that as well. And this group really represents the best of small, innovative businesses that are transforming the communities that they serve. And I just can't think of a more important thing. And then Kaiser Permanente, who continues to support ICIC, continues to offer programs and to promote the equitable economic growth in our communities, which is really having an extraordinary impact. So I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to ask our panel to introduce themselves because I'm not going to do that justice and I want to hear it from them. So why don't we start, Andrew, with you?
Yeah, my name is Nicolas. I'm the Executive Director of Kingdom Causes Bellflower and Good Soil Industries, which is alumni 2016 of ICIC. And our heart and hope is to help justice-involved individuals who are hard to hire get back into the workforce. And so we have a program that wraps around that.
Welcome. Vanessa?
My name's Vanessa Faggiolly. I am the CFO of Amerisol Foods. We are a wholesale and importing business. We service mostly supermarket chains, and I'm blessed that I get to call my boss Mom. So we're a great mother and daughter team.
Laura?
Good morning, everyone. Laura Johnson. I am Senior Vice President of Strategic Development and Technology for Southern California and Hawaii Kaiser Permanente. It is really a privilege to be here today. I have been involved with our community health work since I started about 22 years ago in Kaiser. My role is to really help us grow, expand, and really innovate. And over the years, I've had the wonderful opportunity to work with Jodie and John and others in this room as part of the ICIC relationship. So looking forward to this conversation
Welcome,
today.
you guys. I'm looking forward to it, too. So why don't we start? I'm going to start, actually, Laura, with you, since we're going to go back down the other way. Can each of you share, and we'll like to hear from each of you, some of the ways in which your organization have invested in the initiatives and programs that benefit your communities? And why has this work so central to the mission of your organizations? Why don't you start, Laura?
Well, for all of you, Kaiser Permanente, community is first for us. It is a key pillar in our strategic vision for growth, expansion. Our mission is to improve the health of our members and the communities that we serve. And so really it is a linchpin, and we've really talked about how we are anchor institutions in our communities. So for example, we in Southern California have a large footprint. We have over 17 hospitals, we have 200 medical office buildings, and we are, really serving almost 4.5 million, 4.6 million members. But really, it's around, we're more than just providing care. We really see this as, community health is first, and really that means, how economic vitality leads to, continued health for our members, for our communities. So there's 4 things that we really have been focused on for our anchor mission. And really, it's around thinking about high impact hiring. How can we really get into a community, become a fabric of that community, integrate with the community, make sure that we have local jobs, make sure that we are, looking at diverse purchasing. So that's sort of our second opportunity. How might we help small businesses integrate into our large organization? It's not always easy, so really looking at how we can improve those processes. The third piece is really our social impact investing and how we are, actually contributing financially and grants throughout the communities and through small businesses. And then finally, where I've been really involved is the Building for Impact work, where we have a large capital investment plan. And how can we take that and become more than just building buildings, but working with our partners, really thinking through how we can breathe life and continue to really advance our anchor missions. So that's really where I would say our strategy is tied to all the work we're doing here at ICIC.
It's amazing. Vanessa, why don't you, when you answer the question, tell us a little bit also about your company, because I'm sure everyone's intrigued that your boss is your mom. I love that. And just that family business, and then maybe just help us understand, what your organ is doing to invest in your community and build capacity. Okay.
So since the beginning with Mom, we've always thought about creating a business with a purpose, and how, as business owners, you can efficiently deliver that message to your team. Now, to me, as I was saying, it's a blessing to work with mom. And in our business, I have people that are 60, baby boomers, 65 years old, to my youngest one to be 20, that he's 23. I believe having different generations working in your business really drives innovation, because you understand, for example, for us that we sell products, we understand how each generation shops, which creates a very efficient strategy for us. Going back again to efficiently deliver the sense of purpose to your team, we as a family business, we make sure that our team feels greatly appreciated. I was telling everybody over here, I was every day I'm at 3 a.m. at work with my drivers and my warehouse person, busting our backs, working and making sure at the end of the day that the boss is there with them. And I am no better than anybody. We are there to drive the business, to push the culture. Mostly what we focus on, it's the Salvadoran consumer. So we just got the account Costco in January.
Wow, congratulations.
Thank you. And, seeing my whole team, going back to, I tell my team, we are all a family. Everything that everybody does here counts. I show them gratefulness every day for what they do. And that really drives the company to success. My mom tells me all the time, she's like, I'm the first one in my family to graduate from the university. And my mom would say, listen, Vanessa, I have no knowledge of school, because she just went to high school. But mom, she's street smart. She had the knowledge of the streets. My grandma taught her how to do business, and she only did 3rd grade. So seeing somebody so resilient as my mother is a great example. My business partners, my business mentors, like Brandon, that he's here, that really challenges you and makes you think outside of your comfort zone. Sometimes I tell people, I'm part of the ICIC, I'm a 2018 alum, and I'm grateful for all the resources, because education is key. My mom says, Vanessa, I bring the street smart experience, but you have the university experience. So together, we form a phenomenal team of gratefulness and respect.
Yeah.
And again, just the resources of education. Every year, I'm getting into new programs with ICIC or any program that is available that, by the way, it's really worth it, because it makes you get out of your everyday, whatever is it that you are working. It makes you think outside of your everyday workday. And that's where innovation, in my opinion, really happens.
Yeah. One thing I take from that, and maybe Andrew, you can weave it in, is that being strongly mission aligned in your business can drive growth. And so often I've seen it I started my career in consulting and then Kaiser and then consulting. I've seen businesses feel that that's an or, not an and. That those two things together, that you can be highly business focused and mission aligned, and those things together is 1 + 1 equals more than 2. And I think that's just, you speak so eloquently to that. So it's so important that people take that away. And I know Kaiser feels that way. And I also know we've had times where we've had to explain that to people and really get people on board. It's not always easy to say that. Andrew, tell us a little bit about your business, and then how you're advancing the initiatives that are helping you grow and have impact.
Sure. Yeah, thank you. So as a community development nonprofit, our product is community development. It's making the community better. And so for us, our organization will be around 25 years next year. We'll hit our 25-year anniversary.
Wow.
Yeah, thanks. And I'm the newest ED there, so I'm riding on the coattails of a lot of amazing people and amazing hearts and amazing partnerships like ICIC and Kaiser that we'll talk about in a little bit. But I think with us, we were started by a group of churches that just saw a need of folks that were living in our riverbed. We have a riverbed that goes to the ocean that's right by us, and they're like, we just want to help. Like, we see a need, we see a hurt, we see a problem in our community. They're our neighbors, so how do we help? And that's grown into constantly trying to look and pivot to see, like, what are the needs? What are the things that we see around us that we can actually be a part of making better? So our mission is to mobilize the community and provide transformative services so that all of our neighbors have a place to live, work, and belong. And so we do this three-prong approach to where folks who are homeless or about to lose their housing, how do we help them with assistance to get that? But if they have housing, they need work in order to keep that. But if they need work and they've made some bad decisions in the past and they're trying to get it better now, there's this barrier there. So how do we help remove barriers? And so for us at Kingdom Causes Bellflower, Good Soil Industries was installed as this idea of, like, we see this need. We see these folks that are trying so hard that, yes, have made some mistakes, just as involved, addict recovery, but they're doing the right things now. How do we help them get that second chance? And we're not able to do it by ourselves, and I think this is where a lot of the organizations that we're partnering with help out, because, like, we need folks to be able to trust enough or believe enough in the community to give them a chance. And so we try to be that bridge to be like, hey, they're in our program, you've come to trust us, so let us then, hire these folks or supply amazing, delicious, healthy food to the food banks and things, or partner with grants like Kaiser did. And so our focus is very much on community betterment. And a big part of that is looking to see the organizations and partners that are around us that are willing to help out with that.
So let me build on that, because you allude to partnerships, and I think in the work that I've done, I've seen how impactful, how important, how essential, how impactful partnerships can be. Maybe each of you could talk about, what are some of those partnerships that have helped advance your organization's efforts, and how do you create the conditions for good partnerships? Because a good partnership is different than saying we're going to do something together and then it kind of, peters out or doesn't produce what you want. So can you talk, I know you started, Andrew, why don't we start with you, about those partnerships?
Yeah, partnerships are key to us. I mean, like a lot of small businesses and especially nonprofits, you're like 95, 98% heart and hopes and 2% business model and systems and structure, right? You're going for it, you believe in it, you're finding some people, and you're doing the work. But if that is succeeding and you're beginning to grow, then you need structure, you need systems, you need to also be a good business in order for the business to last, for what you're trying to do, your why, to actually continue to go forward. And so ICIC came in at a pivotal time for us, to where we had programs going, we had systems going, but we needed the education. We needed the structure. We needed the, like, hey, yeah, you have a good heart, but without a good business plan and model, you're going to fizzle out. It's not going to be as great as it could be. And so we have an ICIC alum from 2016, and in that same time, Kaiser came, and they said, hey, we believe in you enough, and this is key in that partnership, is how do you present yourself and show the facts and the genuineness of, like, we not only really believe in what we're doing, but you can see the results. Like, there's genuineness and there's authenticity in what we're doing. And so a partnership like Kaiser came in and said, hey, we believe in you. And they gave us 3 of their big office buildings in our area for our landscaping company. That's the work that we provide. We provide landscaping work, dignified generosity, and we partner with Rio Hondo AJCC, who they are here too representing, and they provide case management. And so you have this wraparound service to get these individuals whatever they need to do to get into work. And so Kaiser became a partner, and that job, that account was huge for us because it gave us some breathing room. But what it also gave us was clout. We could then go to other businesses and say, hey, would you let us do your landscaping? Oh, by the way, we're working for Kaiser. And they're like, oh, Kaiser. We know Kaiser. We love Kaiser. Kaiser's big. If Kaiser trusts you, we'll give it a shot. And so it opened up the doors for us in those relationships. And hopefully, we continue to just spread the goodwill of Kaiser actually does care about your communities. Kaiser does care about the people there, yeah.
Let me, Laura, I just want to ask you that one thing,
yeah.
just follow on to that, just as your answer, as you're responding to that. How do you make a partnership between a very small organization, a very large organization work? What are the things that have to be done to make that successful?
Well, and I think this is a perfect example because, Andrew, like you said, it starts with the mission, what you're trying to do, and so having that aligned mission is probably number one. You even mentioned it, Jodie, and I know you were part of this original kind of relationship, and so I think it's kind of starting out small, kind of a smaller test. We said, we knew that, what can you handle? How can we do that? How do we make it easier to actually get inserted into sometimes, what can be considered a lot of paperwork, processes as we look at vendors. We, are a large organization, a compliant organization. We have to go through those processes. But working through that, I also believe that being kind of with you along the way, helping to coach and mentor as you're going through developing your business, growing it, and we can help do that. I also think that the other piece of this, which has been wonderful, is that we took a smaller, segment, so 3 yet very impactful buildings, and building upon that, starting out small, but you are in those communities, you reflect the members and the communities that we're trying to serve, and you are helping be our advocates and spokespeople for continuing to grow Kaiser. So to me, it's shared value. So we were able to, you mentioned 1 + 1 = 3 here. This was a perfect way we were able to get great work done, continue to have great work done, and fostering that relationship to spread.
I think, the one thing I'll just say also is just this incredible mutual respect about what each organization brought to that partnership. I remember being on another project, it was a long time ago, and it was a partnership that was unequal, right? That felt very unequal. And I kept on saying to people, that is a partnership that will fail, right? It's not balanced. And if one party feels that they're not benefiting kind of equally or they're respected equally, it eventually will crumble. And in that case, this was a long time ago, and something else it did. And I think that's something that you talk about, that your organization knew the community. There was something very, very specific and valuable other than the actual services of the landscaping, and then just the ability for Kaiser Permanente to create the conditions to make that partnership work, and then to help your organization grow and to understand, because eventually that was going to help. That's amazing. So Vanessa, maybe talk a little bit about maybe some partnerships that have been particularly impactful to your business, and how did you create the conditions for a successful partnership?
From sales perspective, because I'm a sales rep too.
Yeah.
The first thing that I tell people is, do not overpromise and underdeliver. That's
a good point.
Be careful. Whenever somebody comes and they're promising me everything and then they underdeliver, then the disappointment is strong. Going back to partnerships, again, I work with the Valley Food Bank. We donate a lot of food on a monthly basis. Our focus, and a little bit of story about us, Mom and I, we were able to purchase a bankrupt business back in 2008. And it's been hard work to get it to the level that it is right now, but going again to those partnerships like ICIC, all the resources that you have out there that are available for you as a business owner that you should use will make you really navigate your business through any challenge or uncertain times like the ones that we're going through right now. And again, transparency. In 2018, Kaiser did a phenomenal video with ICIC of our business, and my team was featured, and everybody was just so emotional because going back to, again, we are a big family, and as soon as I hire somebody, I say, welcome to the Amerisal family, where everybody here is appreciated, we love each other, whatever you need, I have an open door policy, come talk to me. And again, being transparent with your partners, explaining what is happening, what is your mission, what's your vision. For example, right now with my influencers, they contact me, they're like, Vanessa, we want to feature your story. We want to make purchases with a purpose. We want to know that you don't have a board of like 20, 30 people that are making just decisions based on profit. And don't get me wrong, we're a for-profit business. But at the same time, utilizing this partnership to get your message across, especially social media that nowadays is so powerful, really touches people's heart, and they want to either purchase your product, work with you, or partner up. And again, I never get tired of saying this: education, resources, transparency.
Vanessa, you talked about, it's a business relationship, but I'll call it a partnership here with Costco. See, very large organization, incredible achievement, by the way. Talk a little bit about that, because I think a lot of times when people would come to us at Kaiser and small businesses, there was a little like, how do we even begin the process of doing business with such a large, complicated organization? Laura talked about there's some level of process, bureaucracy, whatever, requirements, things that are different in large businesses, lots of decision makers. Tell us a little bit about that relationship, because I think we could learn a lot of how that happened and how others can get to that same place, which is quite enviable. But
I guess it also has
I
to do a
can't
lot.
wait to buy the products.
I guess I'm hungry too. I want like some fried bananas with beans and cheese and eggs. Oh, right now, it's like, I'm hungry. A lot goes into my personality. I don't.
You don't take no, I have a feeling for you.
I'm a big extrovert, so I just go for it. And a little bit of story, I've always been a little daredevil, motocross rider, crazy. My dad was like, Jesus Christ, what's happening with this girl? So I'm not afraid to go knock doors. What's the worst thing that somebody's gonna tell you? No? I think a no is like, I'll be back next week. So I think that really had that persistence and just not being afraid. As soon as we got, I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to send the email to this buyer. I call Costco now. I'm going to send the email. And I believe God's time are just perfect. And I said, I'm going to prepare this compelling, great email. I got the email from the buyer. And it just happened that I sent the email. Literally 5 minutes later, he called me.
Wow.
I couldn't believe that a buyer called me and he's like, Vanessa, this is a really big deal. You need to come. We need to see all this audits, all this. And I'm like, okay, I'll be there tomorrow. We got, what else do you need? We got all the audits done, everything. It took us a year to go into Costco because this is a really big deal. They have a lot of different regulations that you need to get done. But instead of saying or being afraid of taking that decision, it's like, oh, you know what? This is too much work for me. No. My team was excited. My manufacturing companies in El Salvador, Guatemala, Nicaragua, everybody was excited because we were going to be the first, especially for the beans, the first Salvadoran company in Costco, the first small women-owned, certified women-owned business in Costco. Thank you. So I'll be my advice is just don't be afraid. And again, reach out. There's a lot of no's in the way, but a no just means just come back another day. Yeah. And eventually you get it done. And again, going back and working with partners that will help you manage and make your business in a way, as I tell my team, I could not go to work and my business runs by itself. But it has been a lot of time and education to get where we are, and we were ready for Costco.
Yeah.
That's
and
how
my
when
guess
I
is
out.
Once Costco decided they wanted to do this, that they themselves wanted to make you successful and make it happen. So the lack of fear in saying, look, we might need some help from you. We're not exactly sure how to navigate all your processes and things like that. So that's an amazing story. So let me shift gears for a second. So, and you touched a little bit on social media. We're seeing ourselves in a time of tremendous innovation on so many levels, certainly on a technology side, but also we're seeing a lot of social innovation. We're seeing social media innovation in that, how people market themselves, how people build brands, just innovation across just a wide landscape of different types. So maybe, Andrew, talk a little bit about how has innovation played a role in your organization, and anything you might want to highlight that you think that the group would be interested in hearing.
Yeah, our innovation, I mean, a lot of our stuff is still kind of word of mouth, job to job, but one of the things that we've done since ICIC is we implemented technology like Jobber, which is a big deal for us, for our organization. And a lot of these, even Jobber, the partnerships and some other ones, they partner with us by discounted rates, and so they're able to utilize a lot of these programs. We do social media, and the social media for us, again, the story oftentimes will sell itself because of the nature of our product, of community betterment and development. And so we utilize social media, actually, I rely on some of my younger staff that's there to be like, what should we be doing? Like, what would you want to see? And so we have some folks that at the beginning, we're on their phones a little bit too much as we're going through, and I'm like, let's adjust that. How do we create accounts for work to where you can be on the same platforms, but you're actually utilizing it for our organization? And so I don't have to write you up for being on your phone too much. Like, let's figure out how to go. And so utilizing, like you were saying, this multi-generational idea of like, I don't have some of these things that would actually spread the word a lot better to the people that need to hear it and want to hear it. And so utilizing the team and just trying to be ready to pivot and adjust because it's such a fast pace.
Yeah. I'm intrigued by this multi-generational and just what an organization can learn from that and how you develop kind of the whole complement of who works in your business. And I just, maybe Vanessa, you talk about it, because it seems like it's really, I mean, you're almost like an extreme example. It's multi-generational, both within your family as well as the workforce. And how do you know, because we tend, I think, think of organizations very hierarchical. The young people are at the bottom, the older people are at the top. How do you really give people a voice? And particularly as things are moving so fast. Like I find myself learning from my kids now in a way that I never thought I would. And it's just fascinating. So we talk a little bit about that, because it sounds like that is a big part, Vanessa, of your business.
It's just going back again to just appreciation, gratefulness, and giving a platform to everybody in your team, because the newer generation have some great ideas. And going back to technology, and now I tell one of my influencers, how did you tell in TikTok? He's like, you were supposed to do this and this and that. So because as business owners, we can be so busy and the micromanaging and the everyday, I focus a lot also on how do we innovate. And there's a great book that I read while I was in Pepperdine, which is called Blue Ocean Strategy. And I talk a lot with my assistant that I always tell her, Nayeli, our focus and my sales team and everybody in my team, how do we create a strategy where we are above the competition? How do we create something new instead of be swimming on this red ocean where we're all going to be killing each other for very slim margins? How do we create a new strategy? So how do we innovate? Yeah. And that's where everybody from the team, I encourage a culture of mistakes. I love when they make mistakes.
I love that.
I always tell them, have fun. We're here at work so long. We are a family. Make mistakes. Don't be afraid. Solve problems. I want them to take initiative. Yeah, and they're not.
We might have to talk about a job after.
There's really good food when you
And there's really good. There's always breakfast and food at my warehouse all the time. Yeah, all the time. So it comes to the point of how do you encourage your team, because your innovation is in your team. And all those different generations, people's like, I cannot work with millennials, Gen Zs, and everything. We work perfectly because going back, appreciation and just listening to everybody.
Yeah. There's a lot to learn. Laura, let me ask you a little bit about this, because when I was at Kaiser and we started some of these programs with ICIC and other related, one of the things I did see was just incredible excitement, particularly on younger people. This just desire to be involved in things that had an impact, and it was a very connecting kind of experience. It was very elevating. I think all people involved added value, different types of perspectives. So maybe you can talk a little bit about some of the programs that Kaiser Permanente has done and how you've seen that, if you've seen that kind of that multi-generational and what you're seeing out of people that benefits the organization.
I would say yes, absolutely. The work that we do is very motivating for people because we really are the largest, not-for-profit healthcare company in the country. And really, a lot of people come and stay because of our mission, drive and our community focus. And you hear that all the time. And there is this energy. I would say the work that we started with ICIC, with some of the things that we've done, programs specifically. I'll take an example of our Building for Impact projects. I mentioned that. A perfect example is in our Watts Medical Office and Counseling and Learning Center. So we had been in that community for over 56 years, and we had been doing a lot of social health, mental health, tutoring, really focusing on that community aspect. We also saw, though, huge needs for healthcare there. So taking that, leveraging, we built something that was very innovative. It's the only facility in our footprint where we've got both the counseling and learning aspect of things as well as the traditional care clinic. But it's nothing that's traditional about it. We started with a goal of we're going to purchase X amount through local purchasing. We are going to hire locally. We achieved all of that. So we had a true vision at the beginning. We set goals. We had leadership sponsorship. Jodie, you were part of that. John, myself, and we never let down. And we had a lot of pitfalls. There were a lot of things up and down. This was through the pandemic, et cetera. But we stayed true to what we were trying to do. And I can be, it's probably the proudest time I've ever been here in Kaiser is when that door opened and we are impacting lives of that community every day. And so, and the results, we're growing. We're hiring, we've got a footprint, we are just expanding our community outreach and truly being that anchor institution. Yeah. So that's an example of a product. I would also say the things that, partnership and social impact, to talk about the fires and the things that we did in response to the fires, how quickly our teams volunteered, thousands of doctors, employees, rallying around setting up clinics, emergency clinics, helping to support, both communities of the fires, both our members, our employees, and the communities. And we're still doing that now as we're looking at how can we continue to help support small businesses, how can we help support those communities rebuild. And really, I think that has been extremely motivating for our organization and the employees that work there.
I'm excited to see where that goes. I'm excited to see where our work at Deloitte with the potentially supporting some of the rebuild effort goes and how we can leverage the relationships with small businesses and the connections to the community. So many small businesses were lost in that. So many people could benefit from your wisdom, from the wisdom of places like Kaiser, of ICIC. We have a few minutes left, and I just want to make sure that I give any of you who wants to speak anything that you felt you wanted to say. Somehow in my questions you weren't able to express that. I would just love to hear from you. So, Andrew.
I guess I would want to touch on the team dynamic, and you've talked about this a lot, and like you're saying, I want to come work for your company because it seems like really cool. But I think understanding that our staff, that team is really our greatest asset when it comes to work culture and moving whatever your why is, your product is, but then realizing that in our transitional culture right now, trying to hold on to key staff is hard. So oftentimes we don't treat them as much of an asset, as valuable as they are. And so having this ideology or this understanding where my team is like, hey, whether you're here for 3 months or 3 years or the rest of your life, I'm gonna pour into you 100% development, personally, professionally. Just do that also. Give me 100% while you're here. And if you leave in 3 months, we can leave saying, hey, I'm gonna give you a good job recommendation. I'm gonna help you get where you wanna go. Because then you create a team dynamic where there's trust and people are willing to make the mistakes. They're willing to do the best they can, not trying to guard or protect their next space. And I think I just want to recognize, we actually have the 2016 alumni, Jason Barnett, who is here. So he was the one that actually spearheaded this with Kaiser for us. He is now the director of our housing program, so he's leading the whole other side, and his connection is huge. But even a cooler story is that one of our participants back in 2016, in the last 8 years, has gone the ranks and is now the director of Good Soil Industries. And so we had a participant, one of those hard-to-hire individuals that Jason took under his wing. And so creating that team culture where that's the possibility, where people can come in, feel like they want to go to work, because they enjoy their team. It feels like a place of peace. They can make mistakes, they can grow, they can learn, and they're not worried about a pressure one way or the other. Just do your best, we'll pour into you our best, and we'll just see where it goes.
Yeah, that is truly the foundation for innovation, in my opinion. Vanessa, anything you want to add?
Going back again to innovation, utilize your team, utilize your social media platforms, get your story out there. Again, just partnerships, education, like always so grateful to Steve, to Diego for just reaching out, making sure that we keep getting educated for all these new things that are coming, because I love what I do, because every day is a new challenge. So going back to, I see everything, and every day I get up, I'm grateful for everybody that's in my life, for my team, and for anything that's happening, and it's gonna happen, because at the end of the day is what we focus on grows, and we need to focus on how do we create a stronger team, how do we help our communities, how do we utilize technology to advance our businesses, and overall, thank you everybody for being here. I love what I do, and to me, it's
very
my
infectious.
passion. Yeah.
Laura, anything you want to add?
You know, I think it's interesting hearing about small businesses, and then we've got, the large organization of Kaiser. But what you just said rings so true. It's about the people, it's about the teams, it's about the mission, it's about doing great work and continuing to be that, kind of support. And so as leaders of small businesses, large businesses, it comes down to the culture you're really, fostering. And I think that innovation does start there. And I love the idea of failing fast. Let's try some things. It sometimes is a little bit scary for a large organization, but those key places, and especially Kaiser, we need to innovate. We need to think about meeting our members where they need to seek care. It's not the traditional way anymore. So we know we really have to do that, and it comes down to being part of these anchor institutions in the communities. So I think it's all of that, and I think it really does start with the teams, and so much about just partnerships. I love hearing these stories and how we can continue to be partners together.
Well, I just want you guys to join me in thanking this panel. It's just incredibly inspiring. So many learnings. I think learnings on both sides, what small business can learn from big, what big can learn from small, just all the things around innovation, the power of partnerships, and we need that now more than ever. So thank you guys so much. I feel so blessed to have done this. Thank you.
Thank you, Jodie.
Thank you.